Good morning and welcome to this morning's episode of the Amateur in the Morning. I am your host, the Forex Amateur. Today is the 24th of November. Very sunny morning out here in Durban. Actually, I hate this weather. But anyway, let's get straight into the order of business. Before I do that, let me just throw out my little disclaimer. Remember, I'm not qualified to offer financial investment or trading advice. Everything I speak about on these episodes is purely my own opinion, right? So ensure that you do understand I do not recommend any specific trade or action. Any trades that you take should be based on analysis that you've done and research that you've done with cash that you are willing to lose. Because the truth of the matter is you could lose your entire investment. So let's talk about the synthetic indices market very quickly. Let's talk about volatility 25-1S only because that's the first chart that I have on here. Looking at 25-1S at the moment, I am still thinking that we will see a further push to the upside on 25-1S looking at the weekly chart. But however, looking at the daily chart, we can see that I have had this area here marked in, right? I'm not really sure how much information I gave on this yesterday. But let me just talk about it really quickly. So I identified this as, sorry, I identified this as the last bit of structure that we had on this chart, right? Just clear that out and let me just grab this. Right, so I identified this as the last bit of structure that we had on this chart specifically because we had a low, higher high, higher low here, higher high, and then a higher high there, right? So I basically ignored this because it happened before this low was formed in there. So in terms of structure, this was the last low, this was the last high that were formed, price then pushed down and broke below this low. So that is giving us a bearish sentiment, especially after we had a fake breakout above here and it came back down. So I was looking at this area in here for an initial pushback to the downside, targeting around these areas in here, or these areas down in here. And then I am looking at this pink zone that we've got highlighted in there for a further push down to the downside from there. Looking at the market for today, I would expect us to be reaching for around this area in here, or these areas if I were to make it a bit broader, right? So looking at volatility 25-1S, we should be looking for selling opportunities back to the downside. Looking at the 4-hour chart, let me just see what we can see here on 4 hours. So we've got this market currently making higher highs and higher lows at the moment, right? So currently this is the structural low that's been formed, and you can see a lower high that was formed in here. So once price does break below this low, we should then expect it to break below this low, right? We should then expect it to maybe push down to around these areas here, give us a small pullback, perhaps to around here before it does continue back to the downside. But overall, I am currently looking at this market from a bearish perspective. We've got this little reversal pattern in here that's also playing out as well. So perhaps a breakout retest, which also ties in with my theory of coming back to there and then look for further selling opportunities targeting around this area in here. So moving on to volatility 10, looking at volatility 10. So I've been watching this really closely for the past couple of days, all because I have been looking for, strong buying opportunities back to the upside. Currently looking at this market, I would like to see what price does at this low in here, right? To be honest, because based on what I'm seeing happening at the moment, there's a huge probability that we might see this market want to continue back to the downside. So if I look at the monthly chart, I do see that we've got this huge bearish push to the downside, price pulled back, and it does seem to be continuing back to the downside. But based on what I saw here on the weekly chart is why I'm saying there's a probability that we could see this price push lower. So we had our structural low created here, structural high created there. We came in, created a higher low and pushed up from this area, but we failed to create a higher high here. Right, so we basically created equal highs at this point. So I want to see, my thought process right now would be that we'll most likely see price want to break through this level here and come and retest around this area in here, perhaps before it goes long again, right? So that is what I'm currently looking at on that weekly chart. So there is a probability that we'll see a continuation back to the downside on volatility 10. Looking at the daily chart, just to tie that in a little bit more, you can see that very clearly here on the daily chart as well, that this major key level that we've got right in here, the same level that we've just identified on the weekly, you can see that price is holding really, really strongly at this area in here. Right, so that's telling me that price is failing to break higher even after making these higher lows in here. We still fail to put in a higher high at that area in there. We're still respecting that overall level. So looking at today, I'll be looking to see price coming into around these areas, perhaps even deeper into around this area in here. And then I'll be looking to see if I can get a further selling opportunity back to the downside, perhaps first targets at this area, second target at around that area in there. Let's look at the 4-hour chart. Right, so we've got price in on the 4-hour chart, right? We're seeing really clean price action, showing a bullish sentiment to this market. However, with that being said, we've got price still breaking key levels to the downside, right? So that is what I am currently looking at the moment. That price is pushing really strongly to the downside, but we'll see what it's actually trying to do, right? We're probably going to see price revisit into around this area here, or this area in here, because now we've got this rejection off of this key level that I've been looking at as well, this pink zone that I've marked up in there. So if I get good confirmations in here, I'll be looking to take buys up into around this area, first targets here, second targets up in there, right? And then I'll be looking to see if price wants to go short again, or if we're going to get that continuation back to the upside. Overall, as long as this level is respected on the upside, then we can say we've got that confirmation of bullish momentum. But as soon as price breaks below this level, then we need to start looking for short opportunities back to the downside. Let's move on to volatility 75. Volatility 75, I just want to talk about this for a little bit as well. I have been speaking about this area for the past couple of weeks now, and I've mentioned that price needs to break below here if we're going to be looking for selling opportunities to the downside. Price, I needed to see price break below there, because looking at this area in here, I had identified, right, on one of the episodes, I can't remember which week it was, I did identify that we had this low that was put in that led to the creation of this high and the break of this structure, giving us a bullish sentiment to this market. As you can see, after repeated attempts to try and go lower, price is failing to break below that level in there. So the highest probability right now will be that we will see price push up to revisit that area up in there. I have been looking at the daily chart, which I have also spoken about a good couple of times, that we might see, a push down from around here. But as you can see, price has repeatedly attempted to break below this level. However, it is just failing to break down from here. So that's telling us that we're looking to go higher from this area in here. Also, if you look at the structure, we've got this structure here that has now been broken to the upside, right? So that's telling us that the bullish momentum will most likely, we will be pushing up into around these areas in there before we see if we can go short again in this market, or if this market just wants to continue back to the upside. Let's look at volatility 50. Volatility 50 has reached the area that I did mark up yesterday, and there is a strong rejection of this bottom at the moment. I am currently looking for structure breaks on the lower time frames for me to confirm a bullish sentiment to this market. At the moment, it's still putting in lows, right? We've still got this bearish push to the downside. Everything is currently looking bearish at the moment. On the 4-hour, however, we've got this huge bullish rejection off the downside, and you can see that's leading much higher. I was looking at the 1-hour time frame as well, but looking at the 1 hour, we've got no clear structure over here on the left-hand side for us to show a break of structure. So what I'm currently watching is this high here, and I would like to see price break above this high, create some new structure above this high, right? Create some new structure perhaps above this high, revisit some of these areas in here, and perhaps pull back. Then only will I be looking to perhaps go long from around this area down in here, right? From around this area down in here. So in this zone. So that's my thoughts currently on volatility 50. And I'm still watching it very closely. I mean, I could have taken some of the buys off here, but I didn't like the, the sort of levels that were created in here. We can see we've created this double bottom, you can call it, and then we broke the structure here, right? And then we came right back to retest the structure. So this would have been a bit of a high risk buy for me, and that is the only reason why I did not participate in it. But it is quite obvious that we are getting a bullish sentiment to this market moving forward. So I'll be watching this market really closely as well to see when we get an opportunity to sort of go to the long side. Okay, that's it on that. So let's move on to the NASDAQ equities and the dollar index futures. They keep trying to sell me this paid version, and I had the shit, wasn't happy with it. Besides, I don't use trading view as often as most people. I'm not a currency trader anyway. They give me a paid version of the trading view for binary, then I might want to take that because I'm so tired of losing my analysis. But let's get straight into the NASDAQ market firstly, or let's start with the dollar index. Let's keep the format the same. So on the dollar index, right, there's yesterday's candle in here. I did speak about on yesterday's candle, I did speak about price. Oh, sorry. Let me just share the screen. Apologies, gents. Apologies. And ladies. I'm being sexist. All right, so looking at the dollar index on the daily chart. Now, I did speak about this high, this low yesterday. Let me just get my annotator. So I did speak about this low yesterday, that price will be pulling back into this low and then perhaps giving us a bounce off here and a push to the upside. As you can see, price did reach this low, right? And if you go down to a lower time frame, you'll see a bounce in this area, and you can see price came back into that area in there. Not convinced, however, by this at the moment. So with this indecision candle that's been printed right here, with this indecision candle that's been printed right now, it's anybody's game at the moment. What I think would most likely happen is we'll see price come down to fill this wick and then continue back again to the upside, perhaps retesting these areas in here and then pushing down into here. Overall, I am still quite bearish on dollar index, right? Therefore, bearish on dollar pairs. And I do think that from around this area in here, we will see this market come back down into this yellow block that I've got marked down in there. Let's just go down to the 4-hour chart to see what we've got. All right, so on the 4-hour, as I've spoken about, actually, let's drop it to the 1 hour. All right, so looking at the 1 hour that as I've spoken about on the daily, you can see there's that level that I've spoken about on daily. We can see price broke down below it. If you drop down to a lower time frame, you'll see that pull back into there, and you can see price came back into around here. Right, so we can see that there is a current short-term bullish sentiment to this market at the moment. We will be expecting it to come back into around this area in here. Right, to come back into around that area. This will basically be filling that wick on the daily time frame and then pushing back up, which will fill the wick on the upside as well on the daily time frame, revisit some of these highs before we see it continuing back down as per what I've just spoken about on the daily chart. Let's move on to the NASDAQ equities. Let's look at the daily chart. And on the daily chart as well, yesterday on NASDAQ, I did speak about buys. And as you can see, the market was actually very indecisive yesterday, which is expected since it was a Monday. You know, I don't really trade currencies and all of that stuff, so I don't really worry about this. I mean, the market that I trade isn't affected by all of these nitty-gritties. But looking at this, we can see that there is still a bullish sentiment to this market. We can see that these lows are still being respected. This candle did come down really strongly yesterday, but it still closed back to the upside. So overall, I am still maintaining my bias that we'll see this market continue back to the upside. Let's go down to the 4-hour chart and let's have a look what we can see on here. We can see that this consolidation that I spoke about yesterday, it is still very consolidating, if that is a word, but it's still consolidating quite strongly at the moment. So we'll be looking to see what this price is doing in here. Overall, like I said, my bias currently is bullish on this market, but we'll be looking to see what this market is trying to do at the moment, and perhaps it can bounce down to the downside, give us something like that, and then continue back to the upside because we've got these lows in here that have not been tested, right? So price might be drawn to come and break this, but overall, since the bias on this market is bullish, I would still be looking for only buys on this market until we get to around this pink line that I've got marked in here. And then we'll be looking for shorting opportunities in there, right? The reason for that is because we've got this high printed breakout, break below structural low, big bearish impulse, right? We've got this reversal pattern or continuation pattern, you can call it, and then we've got this market consolidating thereafter, right? So there is no clear direction at the moment, but I think we'll see it tap down below here before it continues back to the upside to around there, before it goes down again, right? So that is my current thoughts at the moment. Remember, there is a lot of manipulations going on in the market at the moment because of the uncertainty in terms of where we're sitting in, you know, in our environment, right? That's as much as I'm going to say about that. So anyway, that's it from my side. Until next time, it has been a pleasure, as always, to share with you guys. And I'm wishing you a blessed and a profitable trading day.